Welcome to the live match reaction. West Ham 1, Palace 1. Finally, we get something out of the game at the London Stadium. As always, I'm joined by AJ, but we want to hear from you. So make sure to have your say by clicking on the link in the comment section down below. It is pinned, so you can join us live via video to have your say on the game. And as always, we'll be reading your thoughts in the comment section down below. AJ, look. For the first time, we're not mad in a while after the last few games. That's a positive. 1-0 at West Ham. There's a lot to talk about. There's Chris Richards. There's the Edouard goal and more as well. But just your general feelings towards the game after leaving it. You don't seem as furious as you have been in the past, and me included as well.
Nah, I think I'll take it. I think a 1-0 was pretty much a fair result, to be fair. I don't think we dominated the game. There was things I really liked about today. There was things I hated. I thought Chris Richards was actually pretty... In fact, I thought he was actually quite brilliant. He was solid. Like, I didn't think he had that kind of defensive midfield mentality, and it's quite ironic because a lot of people have been screaming for Anderson to play there. And Richards coming at centre-back, but Roy did it the other way around. The fact that he actually did a little bit of tinkering and changed it up, I was surprised. Eventually, in the end, it paid off and we walked away with a point away at West Ham. I wasn't really impressed with Hughes at number 10. I think it's just too much for him. It's just not his thing. Edouard, Jekyll and Hyde performance, to be fair. I mean, he got the goal. He did look lively at parts of the game, but I'm still not sold on him being the number 9. But there's still a lot of season for him to prove me wrong. I'm happy he got the goal today, and hopefully that boosts his confidence and he can maybe get a bit of momentum. Yeah, there was spells in that game where we played brilliant. I think the first 5-10 minutes we were excellent. Then we kind of faded away, kind of sat back, let West Ham come on to us. Then in the second half, we fly showed up, and there was times in the game where we could have potentially won the game. But overall, I'm not mad at it. I'm happy that Roy actually pulled his finger out and changed something, which is ironic because he was forced to. Without the injuries to the team, would he have done something like that? Probably not. I thought Lerma had a very, very good game today as well. I thought our defense was a lot better communication-wise. Still a little bit of a headache with the Kudos goal, but it is what it is right now. And with the circumstances, we need to grab onto as many points as possible. And I'm happy we walked away with one away from home. Yeah, just a bit of I think it's almost like a weird kind of relief that we managed to pick something up.
Yeah, after the last 2 games as well, like we needed to get something out of this game. And I'll be honest, look, that's what I'm saying. I'm not mad, but I'm not also happy. It's a bit, for me anyway, personally, for me, it was a bit of a performance. Look, I'll take the result because I think we needed to get a result to at least have something to build on. Now we got this draw against West Ham away from home to build on that against Bournemouth. Before, we didn't have nothing. It seemed like a free fall. The defense was really bad. And I want to actually talk about the defense today because there's both sides of the story. Which when I said, for example, in the Burnley game where even though we kept the clean sheet, I thought we were absolutely it wasn't Palace in terms of defensively and we allowed the so many opportunities. On the other hand, today, even though we conceded a goal, I saw improvements in defense. So we'll be talking about that today as well, which is a positive to take into the next game. But look, I mean, attacking wise, in the first half, we didn't have a shot on target. In the second half, we had that 5 to 10 minute spell, which I thought that, we applied a bit of pressure. Then, after that, we didn't really do much going forward. So, yeah, look, I'll take the point. It wasn't the greatest of performances, but right now, beggars can't be choosers. We needed to get something, and we have got that, and now we look forward to Bournemouth. But as I said, there's a lot to talk about this game, especially defensively, Chris Richards and more as well. But before we actually go speak about and give our thoughts, let's bring on the first guest of the afternoon. I was going to say evening because it's all dark outside. Quinton, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on and calling into the show. 1-0 against West Ham. What do you make of it?
I think I'm generally underwhelmed as you are, D. I felt very, very sleepy come the second half. It was, we've got a point out of it, but I was generally horribly underwhelmed by the performance. There didn't up front. Edouard, we've long commented on Edouard. The media love it by saying he's got 6 goals already. He's on course to get 18 to 20 goals. Well, it's quite staggering because he doesn't put any kind of fear into defenders. Quite honestly, I'm not quite sure what the setup was with Ayew playing down the middle with him. At least it showed some intent. Like, it's like the old days of right and right. 4-4-2, having two players up front feeding off each other. But of course, there just doesn't seem to be a connection in the side at the moment, and that's why we're saying these performances are all just a bit meh. We've come away with a point, but as I put in the comments earlier, if West Ham had been 5-10% better, we would have lost by 2 or 3 today. It's just, I don't know why. Again, late substitutions again. Does it just mean that these players get an appearance bonus for coming on with 5 minutes to go? Is it to keep them sweet? But old Mateta up front again. I think we've long said it. He just seems. Just seems a lost soul. Big guy, but again, he doesn't seem to put any fear into defenders up front.
Yeah, and you made some very good points there about just the striker situation, also in the midfield. But I actually want to ask you a question about the subs. What do you make of Gyro coming on instead of the likes of maybe France? Because I was a bit confused. It seemed like Gyro was playing down the left. He wasn't quite attacking, but it was like we had 2 left backs down the left hand side. What did you make of the subs? Because funny enough, we made the subs before West Ham did.
I think any of us would like, any Palace fans, anybody that bleeds red and blue would like to see Franchek come on because I've not seen him kick a ball yet. Has he had a run out in the first team in a cup match or something? I'm not sure if he's had a run out in the first team, but I've not seen him kick a ball.
He's had a couple in the. He came on against Newcastle. He came on again. He's had about a few subs. Tottenham, that's it. I think he's played about 20 minutes in total, but he's not come on enough. You're right, Quinton, to be fair, in terms of actually making an impact or having enough time to make an impact. So I agree with you on that one. I thought that was a bit strange. Even Hamada, to be fair, I thought this would have been a great game for him to come on, and especially in the absence of Eze, to be fair. So I agree with you 100% on that. One question Quinton, sorry, my apologies. Is what did you make of Micah Richards? Micah Richards.
Micah Richards. Chris Richards. Yeah, I was going to ask about Richards, that as well.
Whatever. Yeah, I think I can't really have a go at any one player for playing particularly badly. Everybody just put in a shift. Everybody just worked hard. But there was no magic. There was no spark. We were 11 players all grafting to a certain degree. But it's not happening as a team. It now seems, in the old days, it was if we're struggling, give it to Wilf. He'll sort something out for us. It now seems like give it to Elise, and he'll steam down the wing, score a goal, or put in a blinding cross. Not that I don't have any confidence of anybody getting on the end of a cross, to be perfectly honest. But it does seem substitute, give it to Zaha to substitute for give it to Elise now.
Yeah, it does feel like that. And I think without Eze there's a lot of emphasis on Elise to try and create something. And I think that added pressure, which I thought he had a decent game today, Elise, but it's much easier to mark out when you only have one player that's your danger man. And look, today I think you made some very good points. Even in attack, apart from that 5 or 10 minutes, we didn't have much in the first half. We didn't have a shot on target. We kept possession, but didn't really do much with it. Some people may say it's the injury. Some people may say it's the attacking patterns of play, and maybe we have to be better coached. So it depends on how you view on it. I don't know about you, but I don't think he's a number 10. I don't think he's a number 10, and we need to try and stop. When you have a Hamada on the bench, and someone did leave a comment saying that Roy said that France and Hamada are works in progress. But Hamada was one of our best players in pre-season. He looked very good, and whenever he's come on, he's looked decent. So I don't understand the work in progress. But when you look ahead to the next game, Quinton, do you think that there should be changes to the starting 11 despite getting a result against West Ham away from home? And if so, what changes would you like?
Yeah, it's very easy to say. Throw on some fresh legs, throw on some new ideas. My concern is that Roy is in theory, getting closer and closer to the exit. If we have a bad performance, against Bournemouth, then it's the players are the players. Come the transfer window, we might pull in between 1 and 1.5 players at best, and probably at the last minute, so they won't be available till February or March, probably, or something of that nature. So. If you can never change the entire squad or any significant numbers, and I'm sure some will be thinking we need a new source of inspiration, a new direction for how we go about things. It looked like we were just mid-table mediocrity at best, but with with the significant sides we've got coming up soon. Was it Spurs and Man City in the next couple of weeks? Yeah, I see it's nothing but just sliding, down that table. So yeah, I don't have a miracle solution as to what subs to bring on. Where Francher is with his fitness or otherwise, I don't know. Eze is due back in 3 or 4 weeks, potentially. Yeah. So it's now January. It's now January. The FA Cup. Yeah, and I worry for Roy a little bit. We've all, over the years, we've all been especially all those games that were on during lockdown with no crowds and Roy was in charge. They were just painful to watch, and it's that regular mediocrity now. There's a lack of spark, yeah, I can't suggest a miracle cure. I'd be crazy to. I've been watching Palace too long to suggest miracle cures. But the Palace I know and love were the ones who break fast, get down the wing, get some heads on it, get some shots away, and all this tippy-tacky football, trying to dribble our way through. Are you trying to dribble through 4 players, probably 30 yards from goal? Was just complete folly.
Yeah. Just quickly before you go, because you mentioned added pressure potentially for Roy. Do you think now the Bournemouth game is a game that we should be winning? Is it a must win, or is it too early to have those type of games?
I take it is it at our place?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we need, if we only come away with a draw from that game, it's kind of, after a third of the season, you're now saying, yeah, the best we're going to achieve is 11th or 12th, and the worst could be touching on the relegation zone. Thankfully, as we all know, there are 3 appalling teams in the table in the league that are propping up 20th, 19th and 18th, and they are a long way from 17th and above. So whilst they continue to play poorly, we haven't got to look over our shoulder too much. But I just see 12th, 13th, 14th stamped all over this season, to be honest.
Yeah, look, pleasure.
And an FA Cup win as well.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, look, the draw today was a bit meh as well for me. Everton at home, it could have been worse, it could have been better, but it's not really the most exciting draw. But then again, it is winnable. Saying that, we lost to them 3-2 just not too long ago. But if on our day, if we can defend, we should be able to try and beat them as well. So hopefully we get a result there. Because right now, I'll be honest, it's all about an FA Cup run. That's what's really left right now, unless there's drastic changes and we start scoring goals and things change in that aspect, which I don't think will happen. So yeah, it's all about FA Cup run. But look, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate your time. Hopefully we'll catch up with you again soon.
D, just want to say I've been watching you for years. Fantastic output, mate. I'll keep watching you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Take care. That was Quinton having his say, and he made some very good points. And honestly, the FA Cup, it happened right as the lineups got released. The FA Cup draw, Everton at home. I will talk about that. We'll talk about it another time. We'll talk about West Ham for now. But look, AJ, Bournemouth. We'll do a preview about it. But after this result, what you saw today, is there now added pressure that we need to get that win against Bournemouth?
The only person that's got pressure on this next game is Roy. I mean, for me, I'm going back to your philosophy of taking a game at a time, to be fair. At the end of the day, if we don't get a result out of Bournemouth on Wednesday, then he'll have to walk or potentially get sacked, or the pressure will go up tenfold. because realistically, those are the only points we are looking at clean for the next month, give or take. Because after that, I'm looking at Spurs, City, Brighton. It's not looking good, Briv. So in all fairness, he has to get something out of this. If we're any level of some kind of ambition left, that's the game he's going to have to target. He has to.
Yeah. Well, I think, even today, like, the point is good. It's decent, but it's not the greatest result. If we beat West Ham, then I guess there would have been less pressure against Bournemouth. But at home, and the funny thing is, Bournemouth, they're not a bad side either. I think they drew against two. I think it was against Aston Villa today. So it's not going to be an easy game. But then again, what games are really easy? We said, Luton, they're struggling inside, and they got the first win against us. So it's about what we do. We have to focus on our strengths. And that's what it goes down to. But send in your comments, people. And if you want to join us live, click on the pin comment to join us via video. Let's bring on the next guest of the afternoon, Tim. 1-0 against West Ham, away from home. What did you make of it?
I mean, I agree with you guys. It's not. I don't think anybody thinks this is a great well, no, I think it's a pretty good result. But are we where we want to be? No, of course not. We're nowhere near where we want to be. But I do think this is a good result. And I will disagree with those who are saying you've got to bring on the youth in this game. I don't think this was – I thought Roy was pretty good in this game. I don't think this was a good game for the youth. And let me say why. Because once you start down this path of we can never win a game and we just can't get anything right, then it just spirals. Then you get us away at Brighton last year when Ebbs looked like he just wasn't even fit for the Premier League. It was that bad because the mindset was that bad. You can't let it corrode down to that level. So I don't mind that Roy was playing this for at a certain point. He's playing for the point. But two things can be true at the same time. So let me take the other side of my argument just there. West Ham were there for the taking. They played terribly. They were bad. West Ham was really bad in this game. And if we weren't in the worst form in the league, I think we win that game going away. We had a real chance to win that game. But we've been, in terms of form, I think we've been the worst team in the league over the last 4 weeks. So anything to break that slump, I think, is the right thing to do. So for me, I think Roy, he's never perfect, but I think he did the right thing today.
So in terms of the youth you mentioned, is it a case of, not bringing them on? So Gyro, he came on today. Mateta came on. I asked this question.
That's, you know what? Let me amend that. I don't think Mateta should have. I don't know what's wrong with that guy, but he has dropped. He's not offering anything. Gyro was a little bit of a mystery, but to your point, Hughes wasn't offering much of anything. And maybe it's just he's out of position, and that's just he's not offering enough. But Mateta, he comes on and he makes us. I don't like saying this because I like JP, but he comes on and makes us worse. That's what it feels like.
I don't know. I don't think he was that bad coming on. I don't know about AJ, but I thought Mateta coming on, I was okay with that sub. Actually, not okay. I was happy with that sub because Edward looked
okay.
Knackered.
All right.
And Edward, then Mateta's the other option. And when he came on, I don't think he was that bad. I think we've got other problems. And for me, the main problem today, and I do want to talk about the positives as well, because there were positives out of the game. Was really the midfield. We've tried this Will Hughes experiment as like a number 10. In the second half, it did kind of change. Loma pushed forward, and I thought Loma was fantastic today, even his energy in the first half and in the second half as well. But Will Hughes as a number 10, it just can't happen anymore. Like, I get it as it's out injured, but we haven't got that many injuries. We have got options on the bench if we want to use them. But then again, it depends on the manager, Tim.
It does. So then there's an open question there, because I agree with you, right? Hughes is not a 10. So there is a 10 on the bench, who is a youth player in França, who is potentially very promising, and we have not seen him. So if Hughes is not the guy, do you throw that guy in? And for me, only in this match, I'm going to limit my comment to this match. I do think anything to get the point, to get your, because I think the players coming out of this say like, okay, big sigh of relief. Now we can start over. We can build, and you really have to go for a win against Bournemouth. You have to do it because our home form has been crap, and we need to change that. So for sure, but I think it would be hard if we'd come out of this and lost on a last-minute winner from West Ham and then gone into Bournemouth, say like, okay, now we got to turn it around. I think that'd be a hell of a lot harder. So, but to your point, D, who is the guy that you slot in there? It sure isn't. I love Will Hughes, but he's not the guy. And França is a 10. So against Bournemouth, do you try him? I mean, I think that's a fair question to ask.
But do you think Roy will try him?
Well, Tim, the funny enough you said that, right? You're right. There is a number 10 that sits on that bench. And also, I would even debate Hamada is capable, or what's the word, competent enough to play in that position in terms of creativity and taking on players. The problem is, and something that's just not realistically going to change under Roy, is he needs to be brave. He needs to be brave and take the opportunity and say, you know what? Sink or swim. Because that will back his argument or his situation where he's saying this player is not ready, or it's going to turn around and be an accidental success like many of the other young accidental successes he's created, where it turns out they actually are competent. If we're never going to know if these players are ready or if these players are capable if you don't take the risk. Because it's not like, don't get me wrong, West Ham are a very decent Premier League side, but at the end of the day, it's not the kind of fixture that one of those two players or maybe both of those players would have got destroyed. It wouldn't have happened. You know, at worst, they might have had a couple poor touches. They might have got taken out by a said player, but they're not out here doing defensive work. They're attackers. And they couldn't possibly be worse based on your argument than what Mateta might potentially have been. So at what point does the manager take the risk and say, you know what? I need to put you out there. That's how Alex Ferguson did it. That's how Arsene Wenger did it. That's how many, many legends of managers have created these outstanding young players. Once in a while, you have to take a risk and just throw them out there and see what happens. Otherwise, they'll just never learn. Loaning them out to League One sides is just not going to kite for these players. So something has to give. I mean, somebody gave Eze and Elise and all these young, exciting players an opportunity in the Championship, and now they're worth ridiculous amounts of money, and we bought them on a cheap. So we've then gone out and forked out £25 million for Mateus França, who, by the way, turned out the likes of Chelsea, Barcelona, Real Madrid, all sorts of Serie A teams, allegedly. But for some reason, Roy just doesn't seem to trust him. He has to be brave and he has to take the risk. And at this point, I just don't know when he's going to do that.
But I don't know when he'll do it either.
I'll
Go
be
ahead,
honest,
D.
Tim, you can answer towards AJ, but I'll be honest. From what I've seen from Roy in the past, 4 or 5 seasons now that he's managed at Palace, that's never going to change AJ, because he's not that type of manager. He doesn't like to take risks, and it has worked for him in the past. But that's why we do know what to expect from Roy. I mean, he's not a terrible manager at some point out to be. He's a decent manager, but he has his limits. Like, there's only so much he can do with a side because of how he perceives the game. I mean, he went on the FYP pod a few weeks ago, and he even said it then, like, in terms of he has a thing against fans that just want to push on, and he's like, look at Charlton, look what happened to them. Like, that's the type of mentality that he has. He doesn't like the risk element. He likes to be in his comfort zone. He likes to trust the players he knows, and that's as simple as that. So
but
I don't think that
on that exact point, sorry, my apologies, right? But on that exact point, right? If he's talking about not being able to push on and being a little bit more conservative in terms of what our expectations are, I'm not going to get mad at Roy if Ozo, França, and I don't know, Hamada finished the game and we conceded a last-minute winner because of one of them. I'm going to be more relieved and more excited by the fact that he's actually taken the risk and played those players. I'm going to be more uplifted by the fact that, oh, actually, one of our own or one of these young, exciting players got some exposure to the first team today. If you gave him half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever it was. But you can't have a dog in the fight if you're not even willing to get the dog in the first place. You know what I mean? It's just, he's not even doing that. You're talking about, you're sitting there talking about, oh, you need to temper your expectations and blah, blah, blah. We're not exactly tearing up trees in mid-table, are we? We're not exactly tearing up trees and battling for European places. So at what has he got to lose by taking a risk and playing some of these kids? Even if he just put the little half an hour cameos or took a risk on it, because at the end of the day, how was it? 5 substitutions you can make in the Premier League? If he started one of them and they had a stinker in the first half, he doesn't make relentless substitutions anyway. He can always take him off and put on his favoured schlub or and stuff like that.
That's the problem. That's not him. Like, we're talking about a guy who's been managing for how many years? What, 20 years or so? And he just doesn't do that. He's not going to change in his final year. Like, that's how he sees things. Like, that's how Roy is as a manager. Like, I agree with you, but he might see it as this. He might see it as, well, we're struggling to get results. I need my experienced players because these are going to be tough Premier League games. And why on earth should I play Francois or Hamada, who doesn't have that much Premier League experience, in place of Jeffrey Schlupp or Jordan Ayew? Not that I agree with it, but that's how he thinks. Because he knows that Jordan Ayew's done it at this level. He knows that Schlupp has done it at this level. And it goes down to that. But then again, it's confusing from the club because the club has been talking about academy facilities and using the youth. But we brought in a manager that doesn't really prefer the youth. I mean, we've seen that from the last 5 years he's been at Palace, to be fair. So it's a simple case of that. But then again, he's here for a season. Look, Tim, I do want to talk about the defense as well before you go. Today, I did think we were much better defensively, even in terms of like allowing West Ham to not have that many chances. They saw I had Kudus on the pitch, Bowen playing as well. But today, out of the last 3 to 4 games, I'll say it was probably one of our best defensive performances.
I fully agree. And I was very happy to see. It's nice to see that Roy didn't cave to the rich. I know how much you were behind the Richards at right back idea, but he can play what he played today. Like, if you want to flex him at all outside of center back, that's the position he can do. And he showed it today. He can play defensive midfield. And he had some moments where it was a couple of moments that were shaky, but in a lot of situations, he just put himself in the right position and he makes a brilliant touch. And he was defending outstandingly today. And I thought Roy did a very, I don't know. I would be curious what you thought of this, D, but I thought part of the setup that Roy had defensively, which, if I'm right about this, I feel very good that he did this because I like the matchup. Richards, in a lot of instances, making sure Paqueta was not finding himself in dangerous spaces in our attacking half. He's marking him, he's tracking him, he's making it really miserable for Paqueta. And Paqueta was not much of a factor in this game. Because I think West Ham was really bad this game, but also I think the defensive setup did help with that. So I really liked Richards in this game. And this is one where I think you guys are right. Again, 2 things can be true at the same time. Did we play great? Nope. This is nowhere near where we want to be. No chance. We're not even close to where we want to be. But did we do the things that we have to do to get out of the just absolute darkness that we've been in? Yeah, absolutely. And the defending was a big, big part of that. So I fully agree with you, D. I thought the defending, like, for me, I'm not going to call this like a big positive, but when you are, when you,
I think if we play like this against Bournemouth as well, defensively, in terms of like how we defended, not that it was 10 out of 10, but it was very good today. I thought defensively we were very good in terms of limiting chances as well. We actually we've done the basics, which we couldn't do. I don't know for what reason against sides that we should have done against.
That's what you have to do. Like, when you're in this kind of darkness, you go back to just pure basics. Like, when everything is falling apart, you just go back to basic, get a point and start over. And now, to the point you made, AJ, I didn't give Ahmed a nearly enough credit. You could easily see, like, against Bournemouth as the setup, do you play like a couple of number 8s and you let Lerma be the lone number 6 and Hamada is your number 8, or do you play him in a 10? I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but I know that Roy does think that Hamada is progressing, and I like that call. It's better than Hughes in that position for sure. I agree with you.
Tim, before you go, I want to ask you a question as well about Richards. Do you think he should be the replacement now for Doucouré now that he's out, or would you rather have Hughes there playing next to Lerma?
If you have a double pivot on, so 2 number 6s, I think Hughes and Lerma are solid. Playing Hughes out of position just doesn't work. If you play him as a defensive midfielder, I think he's good as a defensive midfielder. I do like Richards getting time, and I think he can play that role. It's nice to know that we have, as far as, I guess I'll put it this way. There's a question about, I don't think we're going to go for a lot during January. I'm not going to kid myself here, but there's, when I look at the news, they're like, well, maybe Palace has to go for defensive midfield cover. I wouldn't do that. I would be spending $0 on defensive midfield cover right now, because I do think, to the question you asked, D, Richards can provide that. But if you're going to play Hughes as a defensive midfielder, I think he's an excellent defensive midfielder, and I would play him with Lerma as a defensive midfielder. I definitely would not play him out of position, though.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be one to talk about before the Bournemouth game, 100%, because I thought Richards was class today in that position defensively as well.
He's good. He's a good player,
and he can play as the defensive midfield as well. So I think it should be an interesting debate. But look, Tim, pleasure always talking to you, and hopefully we'll catch up with you after the Bournemouth one. Hopefully after the win.
You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. Have a great rest of your day. Up the Palace.
Yeah, see you later. You too. AJ, I actually want to ask you that as well, and let's talk about it. Chris Richards, I thought today, defensively is fantastic. I'll bring up the stats in a few minutes' time. But for you, is there maybe the sample size isn't big enough, but do you think we can ask some questions about Richards starting as like a CDM in place of Doucouré? Or for you, is Will Hughes the man to take us forward, and there shouldn't really be a debate around it?
The thing is, I don't want to get carried away, because this happened with Chris Richards against Man United when he played centre-back. He was competent. Do I think he's the long-term solution? No. Can he fill a gap? Yes, he's obviously shown that today. I think, like I said, he looked competent today. So there were a few times where he kind of looked a little bit out of place, and he looked like he did kind of misplace where he was supposed to be at in terms of what he did. But that's the thing with an unknown entity. At no point this week, I bet you, David Moyes, in his match preparation, would have had to comprehended dealing with Chris Richards in centre defensive midfield. So now that that's out in the open, I feel like teams could easily build around that quite quickly. It's not a long-term solution, but for a short-term gap, at least until January, we can get over the line, or get Eze back in the side and then bring Hughes more back into his natural position. That makes sense to me. So maybe have him there for a stopgap for the next few weeks. See who comes back from injury or what we can play around with. But then that's just stumps the growth of potentially a David Ozo or a Hamada or
there's that as well.
So it brings up more questions than answers, to be fair. I think it's very good that he's shown he's capable. And I did think he was brilliant today. I thought he was very, very solid, to be honest. I think his passing was on point, his tackling was on point. And Tim mentioned a very good point. He locked Paqueta out that game today. But there will be other games where I'm not sure if we'll pull that off so clean. So for a stopgap option and for a backup option, I'm happy with it. For the rest of the season, I would need to see more, or I'd like to see a bit more consistency or see him more comfortable before I start committing to that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a link issue. Henry said a link won't let me come on, but I did post a link once again. So if you're just joining chat right now and you do want to join us live, you can click on the link that I just posted in the comment section. But it should also be pinned and it should be working as well. So I'm not too sure. Let me know if it's not working for some of you anyways. But yeah, look, there is that. And I guess this is a bit off topic, but when it comes to like signing another holding midfielder in January, it's a case of, do you really need to sign another holding midfielder when the core is going to be back in about? I guess we still got half of the season to play, but making a permanent signing, I don't know. I don't know. I think there is a debate around that, especially when you have the likes of Ozo. If we really do want to,
you know what? Do you know what? Yeah,
this might be perfect opportunity for Ozo to even be on the bench.
There's that, right? But do you know what, D? Do you know what I've just completely forgotten about as well? Gyro technically still is here. That's his position. As to whatever, how he's still here after all this time, considering the opportunity he's been given, God knows. But he is capable and he's competent. That's another option as well. So it's not a priority. We need to go and get a proper fullback, right back specifically, and we need to go and get a striker. I don't talk to man about buying another midfielder. I don't think it's necessary. I think we've got so many unused parts in our team right now that Roy's not utilizing. There are other solutions around. That's why, to be honest, I was gobsmacked with Chris Richards starting today. But he proved me wrong in the sense that he actually did half a decent job today. I thought he was very impressive today. Do I think it's a long-term solution? Can't sell it on me, but I'm not convinced for 1 second that we need to start heavily investing in the centre midfielder. I think that'd be dangerously naive to assume that that's the case. I think we've got more than enough in our full squad and logical way of thinking that we don't have to do that.
Yeah, Errol says still a lack of crosses in the box. I would have started França ahead of Hughes and have him interchange with IU, plus have the threat of Elise. What would it take for Roy to play to Edouard's strengths? Look, remember when Edouard was scoring goals and IU was getting assists? It was simple as IU was playing down the right-hand side and those crosses going into the box. And that really was it at the start of the season. I remember IU and Edouard just having that brilliant link-up play. But then again, now that Elise is back, that's going to be Elise's role down the right-hand side. I think Edouard's strengths, I think Edouard is not a bad striker. I think his strengths are you giving the ball in the box, and that's his role. Like, finish it off. Then again, I do feel like his link-up play has improved this season, way better than last and previous seasons I've seen of Edouard. But then again, his strengths are in front of goal. He's not really the type of... He can do it, he can dribble, but he's not really got the ability. I don't think he's got the technical ability to go past 3 or 4 plays. Like, he's not that smooth. He can dribble, but that's not his strengths. He's meant to be getting service in the box. And I don't know what it will take for Roy to play to Edouard's strengths. Then again, he did get the goal today. But I don't think it's about Edouard's strengths. It's about just having like patterns of play. Even today, like, yes, we did score the goal, but in attack, it felt like individuals once again trying to create something, and it happened so that West Ham gave us the ball and Edouard created his chance and finished it off. I think the coaching in attack needs to improve, because in attack, it's a bit hard at times to see what we're really trying to do. There isn't any rhythm. It's like it's just free-flowing football. That's what it feels like. And sometimes it might work, sometimes it might not, AJ.
Yeah, I'm happy that Edouard's getting goals. I'm happy that Edouard's getting goals, right? But I am still not sold he's the guy. I think he's the guy for now. And I think in terms of priorities around the team, I would persevere with him. But there's still something for me that's lacking. And I don't know if it's the body language thing. Even sometimes when you play it to feet, he flicks it backwards. And he's a weird one, man. I think he almost needs 3 or 4 chances before he bangs in that like goal out of nowhere, to be fair. Because when he turns it on, he scores rockets, he scores headers, he scores volleys. But when he's not on job and he's not on it, he's worthless. So, I don't know, man. Edouard's a bit of an enigma to me, man. It's like, I don't know what version of him I'm going to get from him game to game. We're talking about playing to his strengths. I feel like he's definitely had the chance or two over the years, if I'm being brutally honest. I'm not getting really sold on that he's getting robbed of that. I just think he's too inconsistent, to be brutally honest. But he's still on track to maybe have his most productive season, depending on what goes with him. I was still happy he got his goals today, and at the end of the day, if he bangs in another 10 for the rest of the season,
that's incredible.
I am angry. I ain't mad at that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm mad at that.
Well, that's if he does, anyways. But then again, look, he
fingers crossed.
Yeah, he has been. And also, Eze plays a big part to it as well. At the start of the season, when Eze and Eduardo was playing, the link-up play was very good. Like, he needs to play off someone. That's another thing. You can give the ball to Edward, but if he doesn't have the support around him, what do you really expect him to do? So it's a combination of things. Maybe Edward could do a few things a bit better, but then again, he does need the support. And Eze was that support right behind him. But then again, now that he's injured for 3 to 4 weeks, I think it's about Elise. I think that's why Roy tried to put Elise through the middle in the second half for a bit, because he wanted him closer to Edward. But yeah, with Edward, I think he's been good this season. Anyways, let's quickly talk about the goal, AJ. The goal that we conceded. Anyways, it was very frustrating. I'll be real. That was very frustrating. I mean, who on earth is picking up Kudus? Like, it goes to the midfield, to be fair, because he had all the time in the world. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Then again, it's out wide, cross into the box, fullbacks not able to defend with crosses, and then no one picking up Kudus. For me, I think it was the midfield not tracking back. But where do you think it went wrong?
I think you're right, because when you saw where he sort of picked up the ball, our back line was already kind of where they needed to be, and he was the runner coming into the box. Actually, almost to flip it back at you, who's at fault there? Is it Lerma or is it Richards? Because I would debate it would have been one of them two. I would have debated it's one of them. I mean, it was a poor save by Sam Johnson, and controversial opinion. Maybe he needs Henderson fit to keep him on his toes. But that's another conversation for another day. Because I feel like his form's been a little bit shaky. But
even the
I think, I think, that's another conversation for another day, because we could spend another 2 hours on that one. But I would debate it's either Richards or Lerman that doesn't pick him up running in, because you see Kudus run into the box and he runs past about 3 or 4 players to pick that ball up. And I don't think I'd blame the centre backs on that one. Because I felt the back four were standing where they need to be. And they were essentially, he came in from outside the box. So somebody in midfield didn't do their job there, and who it should have been, that's neither here or there, to be fair, because it's over. But you're right. As soon as that goal went in, I nearly dashed my phone out the window. Like, I was fuming.
Yeah, I was like, here we go again. I was ready to just be like, it's done out here. Because it was a result of a counter of us dominating the game. For the first 6 or 7, 8 minutes, we were dominating the game at that point. We were all over. For the majority of the first half. Just one touch.
That's what I'm saying.
That was a touch.
But then maybe there's a debate there to suggest that maybe Mitchell should have maybe covered him a bit. Nah, actually no, because he came in from midfield, not in the right. So no, let me take that back. So yeah, the midfield, I would debate that Decore probably would have had that pattern. Or if Decore would have had Lerman next to him, they would have had that pattern and they would have had that covered. So somebody needs to have a word, but then the cross did come in from the right. So maybe Tariq should have maybe stepped up a little bit better there as well. But then that's another player, as far as I'm concerned, that needs competition so he can buck his ideas up. Because let me tell you something about football, bruv. If there is a man sitting behind you and he's willing to take your place at any given moment, that steps your game up.
100.
Nothing else steps your game up in any walks of life when you know you can be replaced. Or you know you're one bad moment away from being replaced. And that's through any example in life. Your job, your love life, work, anything. Like, as soon as you know there is an opportunity or an opportunity for somebody to overtake you or capitalize on your mistake, you're done out here.
And he hasn't had that. To be fair, Adam Roller could be that player behind him, but then again, he's not really on the bench. And, I don't know how Roy sees of him, because I thought that he might be the replacement. But yeah, we do need to get a backup for Ty, because I think not that he's had a bad game or so, but like it naturally improves your performances and pushes you on. It does push you on. So and we haven't had that for ages. Then again, with the fullbacks position, we can say that about right back as well. Right back, cool, we have depth there, but we don't have the quality there. So it goes both ways. I think fullbacks, both right and left back, we can definitely look into that area. But look, today we're gonna wrap it up now. I did think that we were much better defensively. We can bring that to the Bournemouth game. Attack-wise, we do need to improve. I genuinely, we do need to improve, because it's just not good enough. Elise created that one chance. Edward in this game, had that. When I say Elise created a chance, I'm talking about the Luton game when we scored that goal. Edward is from a mistake. Like, we're keeping the ball, but even in the first half, we're keeping it, but we don't know what to do in the final third. We need to figure that out. And for me, that is coaching. So there isn't that long of a time from now to Bournemouth, but that needs to improve. But overall, I am pleased. I'm okay with this result. I'm okay, not pleased. I'm okay with this result. We needed a result. We got it away from home. Now we need to build on it. That's a big if. Now we do need to build on it. We can't go and lose against Bournemouth at home. As Tim said, as many of you said in the comment section as well, our home form is not good enough. And we need to make sure we change that. Today, Bournemouth, they drew 2-2 against Villa. It's not going to be an easy game, people. They are improving by the game as well. But if you want to be serious, we need to get the job done at home. And we'll be having a preview for that and more. But thanks to every single one of you that's joined me today as well. Thanks to AJ as well and everyone that's left their thoughts in the comment section. If you haven't already done so, like, subscribe to not miss out on future Palace content. We'll be back next week for the preview, reaction, more previews. And so the Christmas period is here. So it's going to be very, very hectic. But thanks to every single one of you. And until next time, up the Palace.